and a very warm welcome to Fireside Fables. If you're seeking stories that weave tranquility into your night, guiding you gently towards a restful slumber, you found the right place. Here, we embark on journeys not just to distant lands and times, but into the heart of peace and calm itself. So, make yourself comfortable, let the day's worries melt away, and join me by the fireside. Together, we'll explore tales designed to soothe your mind, ease your soul, and escort you into the most peaceful sleep. Tonight, let the flickering flames and the soft cadence of our stories be your sanctuary. In the heart of the Scottish countryside, where rolling hills met misty valleys, stood an old stone farmhouse. Its weathered walls had witnessed countless seasons, each leaving its mark in the form of climbing ivy and moss-covered stones. The farmhouse sat nestled in a grove of ancient oak trees, their branches reaching out like protective arms over the slumbering dwelling. As night fell, a gentle breeze whispered through the leaves, carrying with it the sweet scent of heather from the nearby moors. The sky above was a tapestry of twinkling stars, their soft light casting a silvery glow upon the landscape. In the distance, the faint call of an owl echoed across the fields, a lone voice in the tranquil night. Inside the farmhouse, the rooms were bathed in the warm, comforting darkness of a Scottish summer night. The old wooden floorboards creaked softly, settling into silence as the last remnants of the day's warmth faded away. In their bedrooms, the family slept peacefully, their dreams as gentle as the moonlight that filtered through the curtains. The kitchen, the heart of this home, stood quiet and still. Moonbeams danced across the worn surface of the oak table, illuminating the scratches and marks left by generations of family meals and late-night conversations. The air held the lingering aroma of that evening supper, a hearty stew that had filled the house with its comforting scent. As the old grandfather clock in the hallway softly chimed the midnight hour, a subtle shift occurred in the atmosphere of the farmhouse. From a small, hidden crevice near the hearth, a pair of bright, kind eyes peered out into the kitchen. Slowly, cautiously, a small figure emerged from the shadows. This was Hamish, the Brownie who had called this farmhouse home for more generations than anyone could remember. No taller than a child's footstool, with a round, friendly face and a beard that seemed to sparkle with its own starlight. Hamish moved with a grace that belied his stout frame. His clothing, a patchwork of earthy browns and greens, blended seamlessly with the shadows of the kitchen. Hamish paused for a moment, his keen ears attuned to the gentle rhythms of the sleeping household. Satisfied that all was well, a warm smile spread across his face. With quiet determination, he began to move about the kitchen, his bare feet making no sound on the cool stone floor. As Hamish set about his nightly routine, the farmhouse seemed to breathe a sigh of contentment. Here was its guardian, its unseen caretaker, ready to tend to the home and its inhabitants with love and care. The night stretched out before him, full of possibility and the simple joy of service. And so, under the watchful eyes of the stars and the gentle embrace of the Scottish night, Hamish the Brownie began his work, his heart full of affection for the old stone farmhouse and the family that called it home. As the old farmhouse settled into the deep quiet of night, Hamish the Brownie began his familiar routine. His movements were as soft as falling leaves, each step a whisper against the worn floorboards. The moonlight caught the silver threads in his beard, giving him an ethereal glow as he moved about the kitchen. Hamish had called this farmhouse home for more years than the oldest oak in the grove had rings. He had watched generations of the family grow, from tiny babes to stooped elders, always present but never seen. It was the way of Brownies, these house spirits who found joy in service and protection of hearth and home. With gentle care, Hamish began to tidy the kitchen. His nimble fingers straightened the pile of dishes by the sink, each clink muffled by his careful touch. He gathered the crumbs from the day's baking, sprinkling them outside for the birds who would visit at dawn. Every action was infused with love, a silent blessing upon the house and its inhabitants. As he worked, Hamish hummed a tune so soft it might have been mistaken for the wind sighing through the eaves. It was an old song, one that spoke of rolling hills and misty glens, of the enduring spirit of the land. The melody seemed to seep into the very stones of the farmhouse, adding another layer to the home's rich history. Moving from the kitchen, Hamish padded down the hallway. He paused at each bedroom door, his keen ears attuned to the steady breathing of the sleeping family members. A smile graced his weathered face as he listened, his heart full of affection for these people he had watched over for so long. In the nursery, he gently tucked the blanket around the youngest child, soothing away a small frown with a touch as light as thistledown. In the master bedroom, he retrieved a fallen book, marking the page before placing it on the nightstand. Each small act was a thread in the tapestry of care he wove nightly. Returning to the kitchen, Hamish's gaze fell upon the old oak table. The moonlight pooled on its surface, and in that moment, an idea began to form in the Brownie's mind. His eyes twinkled with quiet excitement as he considered the possibilities. With a nod of decision, Hamish set about gathering what he would need. From the pantry, he selected jars and baskets with careful consideration. He slipped out the back door, his feet barely bending the grass as he made his way to the kitchen garden. As Hamish harvested a few choice herbs and vegetables, the night embraced him. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if in approval of his plan. Returning to the kitchen, arms full of nature's bounty, Hamish felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with physical exertion. And so, as the world slumbered on, Hamish the Brownie began his preparations. The kitchen, bathed in moonlight and filled with the quiet industry of the house spirit, became a place of magic. Not the flashy, dramatic kind, but the deep, nurturing magic of home and hearth, of care freely given and joy found in service. As the moon continued its gentle journey across the star-studded sky, the old farmhouse kitchen began to stir with quiet activity. Hamish the Brownie, his eyes twinkling with purpose, set about his task with careful precision. The kitchen, usually dormant at this hour, slowly came to life under his tender ministrations. With movements as fluid as water over smooth stones, Hamish gathered his ingredients. The pantry yielded its treasures, jars of preserved fruits, sacks of flour, soft as flowers, soft as clouds, and herbs that filled the air with their soothing aromas. From the cold larder came fresh butter and cream, their richness a promise of comfort to come. Hamish's small hands worked with practiced ease, measuring and mixing with a grace born of centuries of experience. The soft patter of flour falling into a bowl mingled with the gentle clink of a spoon against crockery, creating a lullaby of culinary creation. As he worked, Hamish hummed softly, an old tune that seemed to resonate with the very walls of the farmhouse. It spoke of hearth and home, of the turning of seasons, and the enduring bonds of family. The melody wove through the kitchen, enveloping everything in its warm embrace. The Brownie moved to the herb garden just outside the kitchen door, his feet barely disturbing the dewy grass. Here he carefully selected sprigs of rosemary, their piney scent rising into the night air, and leaves of mint that whispered coolly as he touched them. Each herb was chosen with care, its flavor and aroma considered for the feast to come. Returning to the kitchen, Hamish began to chop and slice with a rhythm as steady as a heartbeat. Vegetables from the garden yielded to his knife, their earthy scents mixing with the sweeter aromas already filling the air. The gentle thud of the knife against the cutting board became another note in the symphony of night sounds. As midnight deepened, the kitchen grew warmer with the heat of the oven and the steam from pots gently simmering on the stove. Hamish moved between them, stirring here, adjusting the heat there. His every action infused with care and attention. The sense of baking bread and simmering stew began to permeate the air, filling the kitchen with promises of comfort and nourishment. These aromas, though enticing, were somehow soothing rather than rousing, as if they too understood the need for peaceful slumber in the rooms above. Throughout his preparations, Hamish paused occasionally, his keen ears attuned to the sleeping household, but all remained quiet, the family undisturbed in their dreams, while below, the kitchen continued its gentle, nocturnal awakening. As the first hints of dawn began to lighten the eastern sky, Hamish's feast neared completion. The kitchen, warm and fragrant, had transformed under his care into a place of nurturing magic. Each dish, prepared with love and attention, stood ready to offer comfort and sustenance to the family when they awoke. Hamish stood in the center of the kitchen, his face glowing with quiet satisfaction. The night's work had been good, and as he surveyed the results of his labor, a deep sense of contentment settled over him. The kitchen, alive with the fruits of his efforts, seemed to hum with gentle appreciation. And so, as the world hovered on the cusp between night and day, the old farmhouse kitchen bore witness to the timeless magic of care freely given, of nurture offered in the quiet hours when the world slept on, unaware of the gentle spirit working tirelessly for their well-being. As the first light of dawn began to paint the sky in soft hues of pink and gold, Hamish, the Brownie, stood amidst his culinary creations, each dish a testament to his care and skill. The kitchen, warmed by hours of gentle cooking, held the promise of comfort and nourishment in every corner. The centerpiece of Hamish's midnight feast was a hearty stew, simmering gently in a well-worn iron pot Rich aromas of tender lamb, root vegetables, and fragrant herbs rose from the pot, filling the air with a scent that spoke of home and hearth. Hamish stirred the stew with a wooden spoon, its motion as smooth and hypnotic as the ebb and flow of a tranquil sea. Beside the stew sat a loaf of freshly baked bread, its golden brown crust still warm to the touch. The yeasty aroma mingled with the savory scents of the stew, creating a perfume that seemed to embrace the entire kitchen. Hamish ran his hand gently over the loaf's surface, feeling the slight give of the crust and the promise of the soft, pillowy interior. On a wooden board, Hamish had arranged a selection of cheeses from the farm's own making. There was a creamy, soft cheese flecked with herbs from the garden, its surface glistening invitingly. Beside it sat a wedge of sharp, aged cheddar, its rich golden hue a testament to the quality of the farm's milk. A round of fresh, mild goat cheese completed the trio, its pristine whiteness a contrast to the other offerings. A bowl of freshly picked berries added a touch of nature's sweetness to the feast. Plump strawberries, juicy raspberries, and tart blackberries nestled together, their vibrant colors a celebration of summer's bounty. Hamish had added a sprig of mint to the bowl, its fresh scent lifting the natural sweetness of the fruit. In a small earthenware jug, Hamish had prepared a cool, refreshing drink of lemon balm and honey. The pale golden liquid caught the early morning light, seeming to glow from within. Its aroma was subtle, yet invigorating, promising to soothe and refresh in equal measure. For a touch of indulgence, Hamish had baked a humble apple tart. Its crust was perfectly flaky, hiding within it slices of apple kissed with cinnamon and a hint of nutmeg. Each dish was a sensory delight, not only in taste, but in sight, smell, and texture. Hamish had poured his centuries of experience and his deep affection for the family into every aspect of the feast. The result was more than just a meal. It was an expression of care, a tangible form of the love and protection he provided to the household. As Hamish surveyed his work, a sense of deep contentment settled over him. The kitchen, filled with the fruits of his labor, seemed to hum with a quiet energy. It was as if the very walls of the old farmhouse were sighing in appreciation, recognizing the magic that had taken place in the quiet hours of the night. The Brownie's eyes twinkled with satisfaction as he imagined the family's delight upon discovering this unexpected feast. In these dishes, he had captured the essence of comfort, the taste of home, and the warmth of care freely given. As the new day dawned, Hamish's midnight feast stood ready, a gift of nourishment for body and soul, prepared with love in the heart of the old stone farmhouse. As the hands of the old grandfather clock in the hallway inched closer to midnight, a profound sense of peace settled over the farmhouse. The world outside had grown still, as if nature itself was holding its breath in anticipation of the magical hour. Hamish the Brownie, his feast prepared and laid out with care, found himself drawn to the kitchen window, gazing out at the star-studded sky. The moon, a perfect silver disk, hung low on the horizon, casting long, gentle shadows across the slumbering landscape. Its soft light filtered through the window, turning the kitchen into a realm of subtle luminescence and deep, velvety shadows. The feast, bathed in this ethereal glow, seemed to take on an almost otherworldly quality. As midnight approached, the sounds of the house deepened into a rich tapestry of nocturnal melodies, the quiet creaking of old timbers settling, the soft whisper of wind through the eaves, and the distant, soothing call of a night bird, all blended together in a lullaby as old as time itself. Hamish listened, his keen ears attuned to every nuance of his beloved home. In the rooms above, the family slept on, their dreams soft and sweet. Hamish could sense their peaceful slumber, a warmth that radiated through the very floorboards. He smiled softly, knowing that his unseen presence and care contributed to their restful night. The kitchen, still warm from hours of cooking, embraced Hamish in its comforting atmosphere. The lingering aromas of his feast, the hearty stew, the freshly baked bread, the sweet apple tart, these scents seemed to seep into the walls, adding another layer to the house's long history of love and care. As the minutes ticked by, Hamish moved quietly about the kitchen, making small final adjustments to his feast. He straightened a napkin here, adjusted the angle of a plate there, each tiny action infused with the same care and attention he had poured into the preparation of the meal itself. The Brownie's movements were unhurried, almost meditative. There was a rhythm to his actions, a gentle flow that seemed in harmony with the deep peace of the midnight hour. As he worked, Hamish hummed, softly, an ancient tune that spoke of the enduring bonds between those who dwell together and the land that sustains them. Outside, a gentle breeze stirred the leaves of the old oak trees, their branches swaying in a slow dance. The faint rustle carried through the slightly open kitchen window, bringing with it the cool, fresh scent of night, blooming flowers from the garden. This new fragrance mingled with the warm kitchen smells, creating a perfect balance of the world outside and the cozy haven within. As the clock began to chime the midnight hour, Hamish paused in his work, listening to the resonant tones that mark the transition from one day to the next. Each chime seemed to hang in the air, clear and pure, before fading into the velvety silence of the night. With the final stroke of midnight, a subtle shift seemed to occur in the atmosphere of the farmhouse. It was nothing that could be seen or touched, but rather a feeling, a deepening of the peace and tranquility that already pervaded the home. It was as if, for a brief moment, the veil between the ordinary world and the realm of magic had grown thin, allowing wonder to seep through. Hamish stood in the center of the kitchen, his face glowing with quiet joy. The feast was ready, the hour had come, and all was well in his beloved farmhouse. As the echoes of the midnight chimes faded away, the Brownie felt a profound sense of contentment wash over him. Here, in this moment, in this place, all was as it should be. And so, as a new day was born in the depths of night, the old stone farmhouse stood serene under the moonlight, its kitchen a warm sanctuary of care and magic, watched over by the gentle spirit who had made it his home. As the last echoes of the midnight chimes faded into the velvety darkness, Hamish the Brownie turned his attention to the final task of his nocturnal labor, setting the table for the feast. The old oak table, which had stood in the farmhouse kitchen for generations, seemed to glow softly in the moonlight, streaming through the window, its worn surface a testament to countless family gatherings and quiet, solitary meals. With reverence, Hamish ran his hand over the table's surface, feeling the smooth dips and gentle rises that told the story of the family's life. Here was a small notch from a child's first attempt at cutting bread. There a faint stain from a joyful harvest celebration years past. Each mark and imperfection was a cherished memory, and Hamish smiled softly as he recalled the events that had shaped this humble piece of furniture into the heart of the home. Moving with gentle purpose, Hamish began to lay out the table settings. From a cabinet, he retrieved plates that had been passed down through generations. These were not the fine china reserved for special occasions, but the everyday dishes that had served the family faithfully through countless meals. Their soft, creamy glaze and simple pattern spoke of comfort and familiarity. Next came the cutlery, each piece carefully polished to a soft gleam. Hamish placed them with precision, the quiet clink of metal against wood barely disturbing the midnight hush. He arranged them as he had seen the family do countless times, forks on the left, knives and spoons on the right, each in its proper place. For the centerpiece, Hamish chose a small vase filled with wildflowers he had gathered from the meadow earlier in the night. The delicate blooms, soft purple heather, pure white daisies, and sprigs of fragrant lavender brought a touch of the outside world to the table, their subtle scent mingling with the aromas of the feast. Cloth napkins, crisp and clean, were folded with care and placed beside each plate. Hamish smoothed each one gently, ensuring there wasn't a wrinkle to be seen. These simple squares of fabric, soft with age and countless washings, added a touch of elegance to the homely setting. As he worked, Hamish hummed softly, an old tune that seemed to resonate with the very fibers of the wooden table. The melody spoke of home and hearth, of shared meals and shared lives, a song as old as the hills that surrounded the farmhouse. With the place settings complete, Hamish began to bring the dishes to the table. The pot of hearty stew found its place on a weathered trivet, steam rising gently from beneath its lid. The loaf of freshly baked bread was placed on a well-loved breadboard. A knife laid carefully beside it. The wooden board of cheeses was arranged just so, each variety positioned to complement the others. The bowl of fresh berries added a splash of vibrant color to the tableau, their jewel-like tones catching the moonlight. The jug of lemon balm and honey drink was set at the center, beads of condensation forming on its earthenware surface. Finally, the apple tart was given pride of place at the end of the table, its golden crust promising sweet comfort with every slice. As Hamish stepped back to survey his work, a sense of deep satisfaction settled over him. The table, now laden with the fruits of his labor, told a story of care and devotion. Each dish, each carefully placed utensil, each thoughtful touch was an expression of love for the family that called this farmhouse home. In the soft moonlight, the set table seemed to glow with an inner warmth. It was more than just a place to eat. It was a gathering spot for the family, a place where they would come together to share not just food, but laughter, stories, and the simple joy of being together. Hamish nodded to himself, pleased with what he saw. The table was set, the feast was ready, and all was in order as the night deepened towards dawn. The old farmhouse kitchen stood in readiness, a warm and welcoming heart of the home, prepared to nourish both body and soul when the new day began. With the table set and the feast prepared, Hamish the Brownie found himself in a rare moment of stillness. The old farmhouse kitchen, bathed in the soft glow of moonlight, seemed to hold its breath in quiet anticipation. In this peaceful interlude, Hamish allowed his thoughts to wander, reflecting on the home he loved and the family he had watched over for generations. The Brownie settled himself on the worn stone of the hearth, its lingering warmth a comforting embrace. From this vantage point, he could see the entire kitchen, the heart of the home he had tended for so long. Every nook and cranny held a memory. Every surface told a story of lives lived and love shared. Hamish's gaze drifted to the marks on the doorframe, notches that measured the growth of children over the years. He remembered each time a new line was added, the excitement in young eyes as they stood tall, eager to see how much they had grown. Those children were parents now, and new lines had begun to appear, a continuation of the cycle that had repeated for generations. His eyes moved to the windowsill, where a line of small, smooth stones rested. Each had been brought home by a family member, treasures from walks along the nearby stream, or adventures in distant lands. Hamish knew the story behind each one, silent witnesses to the family's journeys and discoveries. The soft ticking of the old clock on the mantel caught Hamish's attention, its steady rhythm a reminder of the constant flow of time. Yet in this home, time seemed to move differently. It was marked not by hours and minutes, but by seasons, by plantings and harvests, by births and celebrations, by quiet moments and shared laughter. Hamish's thoughts turned to the family, sleeping peacefully upstairs. He pondered on the nature of home and what made this place so special. It wasn't just the sturdy stone walls or the warm hearth, but the love and kindness that filled every corner. The farmhouse was more than a dwelling. It was a sanctuary, a place of safety and comfort for all who entered. As he sat in quiet contemplation, Hamish felt a deep sense of gratitude wash over him. To be a part of this home, to care for this family, was a privilege he cherished. Every small act of service, every quiet moment of guardianship was a joy to him. In tending to the house and its inhabitants, Hamish had found his purpose, his own special place in the world. The Brownie's reflections were interrupted by a soft sound from outside, the gentle hooting of an owl settling into the old oak tree. Hamish smiled, recognizing the sound as another familiar note in the nighttime symphony of the farm. Even the creatures of the night played their part in the harmony of this place. As the night deepened, Hamish felt a renewed sense of connection to the farmhouse and its sleeping inhabitants. The bond between Brownie and home, between guardian and home, between guardian and family, was something profound and unbreakable. It was a relationship built on trust, on care freely given, and gratitude, unspoken but deeply felt. With a contented sigh, Hamish rose from his seat on the hearth. The first hints of dawn were not far off, and there were still a few small tasks to attend to before the household began to stir. As he moved about the kitchen, straightening a chair here, adjusting a curtain there, Hamish carried with him the warmth of his reflections. In the quiet of the night, as the old farmhouse slumbered on, Hamish the Brownie continued his gentle work. Each small action was infused with love, a silent blessing upon the home and family he held so dear. And as the new day approached, the kitchen stood ready, a warm and welcoming heart of the home, prepared to embrace the family with the fruits of Hamish's midnight labors. As the night began to soften towards dawn, Hamish the Brownie turned his attention to the final preparations of his midnight feast. The kitchen, bathed in the gentle glow of pre-dawn light, held an air of quiet anticipation. Every surface gleamed softly, a testament to Hamish's careful attention throughout the night. With gentle movements, Hamish began to make the last adjustments to his culinary creations. He lifted the lid of the hearty stew, allowing a wisp of fragrant steam to escape. The rich aroma of tender meat and vegetables filled the air. Satisfied with its warmth, Hamish replaced the lid, ensuring the stew would remain at the perfect temperature. Next, he turned to the freshly baked bread. With careful hands, he adjusted its position on the wooden board, angling it just so to catch the first rays of morning light. The golden brown crust seemed to glow, its surface a landscape of gentle hills and valleys. Hamish ran a finger lightly over the loaf, feeling the slight give of the crust, and imagining the soft, pillowy interior. The Brownie's attention then moved to the selection of cheeses. He rearranged them slightly on their wooden platter, creating a harmonious composition of colors and textures. The creamy white of the goat cheese, the rich gold of the aged cheddar, and the herb-flecked surface of the soft cheese formed a palette as pleasing to the eye as it would be to the palate. With a gentle touch, Hamish plucked a single raspberry from the bowl of berries, replacing it with a perfectly ripe strawberry from the garden. The jewel-toned fruits glistened with morning dew, their natural sweetness, a promise of summer's bounty. The sprig of mint among them released its refreshing scent, adding another layer to the symphony of aromas in the kitchen. The jug of lemon balm and honey drink caught Hamish's eye next. He tilted it slightly, watching the pale golden liquid catch the growing light. With a nod of satisfaction, he placed it back in its spot, knowing its cool refreshment would be a perfect complement to the warm, hearty dishes. Finally, Hamish turned to the apple tart, the crowning glory of his feast. He dusted a bit more sugar over its surface, the fine crystals sparkling like morning frost. The sweet scent of baked apples and cinnamon rose from the tart, mingling with the other aromas in the kitchen to create a fragrance that was the very essence of home and comfort. As he stepped back to survey his work, Hamish felt a deep sense of satisfaction settle over him. The feast before him was more than just food. It was an expression of care, a tangible manifestation of the love and protection he provided to the household. Each dish had been prepared with thoughtfulness and attention, infused with the magic that only comes from food made with genuine affection. The kitchen, warm and fragrant, seemed to hum with a gentle energy. It was as if the very walls of the old farmhouse were sighing in contentment, recognizing the magic that had taken place in the quiet hours of the night. The feast stood ready, a gift of nourishment for body and soul, prepared with love in the heart of the home. Hamish's eyes twinkled with quiet joy as he imagined the family's delight upon discovering this unexpected bounty. He could almost hear the exclamations of surprise, the warm laughter, the murmur of appreciation that would soon fill this space. In these dishes, he had captured the essence of comfort, the taste of home, and the warmth of care freely given. As the first birds began their dawn chorus outside, Hamish knew his work was done. The feast awaited the family, a surprise that would greet them as they started their day. With a nod of satisfaction, the Brownie prepared to retreat to his hidden nook, his heart full of the simple joy of service. And so, as the new day dawned, the old stone farmhouse stood ready to embrace its inhabitants with warmth and nourishment. The kitchen, filled with the fruits of Hamish's labor, was a testament to the enduring magic of home, hearth, and the quiet acts of love that sustain both. As the first golden rays of sunlight began to paint the eastern sky, the old stone farmhouse stirred gently from its slumber. The night's deep silence gradually gave way to the soft symphony of a world awakening. In the kitchen, where Hamish the Brownie had labored through the midnight hours, the air was rich with the mingled aromas of his feast and the promise of a new day. Hamish, his work complete, prepared to retreat to his hidden nook behind the kitchen hearth. But before he did, he paused for a moment, savoring the peaceful transition from night to day. The Brownie's keen ears picked up the subtle sounds of the house and its surroundings coming to life. Outside, the first tentative notes of the dawn chorus began. A robin's clear, liquid song rang out, soon joined by the melodious warble of a blackbird. The gentle cooing of wood pigeons added a soothing bass note to nature's morning music. These familiar sounds brought a smile to Hamish's weathered face, a daily reminder of the eternal rhythms of the natural world. Inside the farmhouse, the old timber frame creaked and settled as it warmed in the growing light. These soft groans and whispers were like an old friend's greeting to Hamish, the voice of a home he had tended for countless years. Each sound told a story of seasons past and the lives lived within these walls. From the barn came the distant lowing of cows, eager for their morning milking. The gentle clucking of hens in the farmyard joined the morning soundtrack, punctuated by the occasional crow of the rooster, announcing the arrival of a new day. These sounds of farm life were as much a part of the home as the stone walls that sheltered the family. As the light grew stronger, it began to filter through the kitchen windows, casting long, warm shadows across the room. The sunbeams caught the edges of plates and glasses on the table, creating little prisms that scattered tiny rainbows across the worn wooden surface. Hamish watched this daily light show with quiet delight, marveling at the simple beauty of sunlight on well-loved objects. The Brownie's nose twitched as a new scent joined the medley, of cooking aromas, the fresh, green smell of dew, damp grass, and earth warmed by the rising sun. This scent drifted in through the slightly open kitchen window, a breath of the outside world mingling with the cozy smells of home. Upstairs, Hamish's sharp ears detected the first stirrings of the family. A floorboard creaked gently as someone turned in their sleep. The soft rustle of bedclothes and a drowsy sigh heralded the gradual awakening of the household. Soon, Hamish knew, bare feet would pad across bedroom floors and sleep. Blurred eyes would blink in the morning light. As these sounds of awakening grew more frequent, Hamish felt a warm glow of anticipation. Soon, the family would descend the stairs, drawn by the enticing aromas wafting up from the kitchen. He could almost hear their exclamations of surprise and delight as they discovered the feast awaiting them. With a contented sigh, Hamish turned towards his hiding place. His work was done, and it was time for him to rest as the family began their day. But as he moved, a floorboard creaked softly under his foot. For a moment, the Brownie froze, his eyes wide. Then, chuckling silently to himself, he relaxed. Even if someone had heard, they would surely dismiss it as just another sound of the old house waking up. As Hamish settled into his cozy nook, the first sounds of movement on the stairs reached his ears. The new day had truly begun, and with it, the next chapter in the life of the farmhouse and its inhabitants. The Brownie closed his eyes, a smile playing on his lips as he drifted off to sleep, lulled by the comforting sounds of the family he loved beginning their morning routine. And so, as a new day dawned over the old stone farmhouse, the magic of the night, embodied in Hamish's loving labor and midnight feast, seamlessly gave way to the simple, profound magic of everyday life and love shared under one roof. As the warm morning light filled the old stone farmhouse, the family began to stir from their peaceful slumber. One by one, they made their way down the creaking wooden stairs, drawn by an enticing aroma that seemed to embrace the entire home. Soft murmurs of curiosity and wonder drifted up the staircase as each family member caught the scent of something unexpected and delightful. The kitchen door swung open gently, and a collective gasp of surprise filled the air. There, bathed in the golden glow of early morning sunlight, stood the table laden with Hamish's midnight feast. The family gathered around, their eyes wide with wonder at the bounty before them. The mother's hand brushed the warm crust of the freshly baked bread, her fingers leaving the slightest impression in its perfect surface. The father lifted the lid of the stew pot, releasing a cloud of fragrant steam that brought smiles to every face. The children reached for the bowl of glistening berries, their small hands hovering over the fruit, as if afraid that touching it might break the spell of this magical morning. As the family settled around the table, a sense of reverence fell over the kitchen. There was something special about this meal, something that went beyond the delicious aromas and beautiful presentation. It was as if they could feel the love and care that had gone into every dish, every carefully placed utensil, every thoughtful touch. The grandmother, her eyes twinkling with a knowing light, spoke softly of old tales, stories of helpful house spirits who watched over homes and blessed them with their secret labors. The children listened with rapt attention, their young minds open to the possibility of magic in the everyday world. As they began to eat, exclamations of delight filled the air. The stew was rich and hearty, warming them from the inside out. The bread, when broken, released a heavenly aroma that seemed to carry with it memories of countless family meals shared around this very table. Each bite of cheese, each spoonful of berries, each sip of the cool, refreshing drink was savored and appreciated. Throughout the meal, a feeling of gratitude and wonder permeated the kitchen. The family spoke in hushed tones, as if afraid to break the spell of this extraordinary morning. From his hidden nook, Hamish listened to the happy murmur of voices, his heart swelling with joy. This was why he did what he did, not for recognition or praise, but for moments like these, moments when the love and care he poured into his work translated into happiness and togetherness for the family he watched over. As the meal drew to a close, the family lingered around the table, reluctant to leave this magical moment behind. They began to plan ways to pay forward the kindness they had received: a basket of food for a neighbor in need, extra time spent helping on community projects, small acts of thoughtfulness for each other. The children, inspired by the morning's magic, decided to leave out a small plate of food each night, a gesture of thanks to whatever kind spirit might be watching over them. Hamish chuckled silently to himself, touched by their innocence and generosity. As the family finally rose from the table and began to go about their day, there was a new spring in their steps, a lightness in their hearts. The unexpected feast had done more than nourish their bodies. It had fed their souls, reminding them of the power of kindness and the magic that can be found in everyday life. The old farmhouse seemed to glow with warmth and love. As the day progressed, every creak of a floorboard, every rustle of a curtain in the breeze, seemed to whisper of the secret magic that dwelled within its walls. The family moved through their daily routines with a renewed sense of appreciation for their home and for each other. And Hamish, the faithful Brownie, drifted off to sleep in his cozy nook, his heart full of contentment. He had given a gift of kindness, and in return, he had received the greatest gift of all, the joy and love of the family he cared for. As he slipped into dreams, Hamish knew that when night fell again, he would once more rise to tend to his beloved home, continuing the ancient and beautiful dance between those who dwell in a home and the spirits who watch over them. In the gentle quiet of the afternoon, as the family went about their day, with hearts full of gratitude and wonder, the old stone farmhouse stood strong and serene. It was more than just a building. It was a haven of love, a repository of memories, and a place where, sometimes, in the deepest hours of the night, magic still happened, and at its heart, unseen, but ever present, was Hamish, the Brownie, guardian of hearth and home, weaving his own special magic through acts of selfless kindness. Thank you for allowing Fireside Fables to be a part of your journey tonight. We hope our story has gently guided you to the gates of dreamland, wrapping you in the comfort of tales told by the fireside's warm glow. For those of you who might still be seeking the embrace of sleep, Stay with us a little longer. A calm, meditative peace will follow shortly, designed to ease you into a restful slumber under the watchful care of the night's peaceful embrace. Remember, the path to dreamland is always here, lit by the soft light of our fireside tales. May you find tranquility, peace, and the sweetest of dreams. Close your eyes and settle into a comfortable position. Whether you're lying down or seated, allow your body to relax completely. Take a deep breath in, filling your lungs with air, and then gently exhale, releasing all the tension from your body. This meditation will guide you into a deep, restful sleep. As you follow along, let my words be the gentle waves that guide you into the peaceful embrace of slumber. Begin by focusing on your breath. Feel the natural rhythm of your inhale and exhale. With every breath, imagine a wave of relaxation sweeping over your body. Starting from the top of your head, let this wave of calm flow down to your toes, relaxing each part of your body one by one. Now, bring your attention to your mind. Visualize your thoughts like leaves floating on a gentle stream, drifting further away with each breath. There's nothing for you to do right now, nowhere you need to be, except right here in this moment of peace. As your body sinks deeper into relaxation, imagine a soft, warm light enveloping you. This light brings with it a deep sense of calm, filling every corner of your being. With each breath, this light grows brighter, your body feeling lighter. It's now time to let go completely. Your serene place is here to cradle you into deep sleep. With every breath, feel yourself drifting further into this haven of peace. You are safe, you are loved, and you are embraced by the gentle arms of sleep. As my voice fades away, let the calmness and peace you feel guide you into a deep, restful sleep. Your body knows what it needs, and it's time to surrender to the soothing rhythm of your breath, to the quiet of your mind, and to the warmth of your peaceful